Converse, manufacturers of America's #1 basketball shoe, the Converse All-Star, brings you the 40th in a series of championship basketball films. You'll see the top games, the top stars, plus interesting sidelights of America's greatest indoor game. Now let's take a look at some of the collegiate and professional highlights that made history this season. It's like old times in the junior college championship game as San Jacinto returns after a year's absence from the finals. The Ravens take on Vincennes Junior College out of Vincennes, Indiana. San Jacinto makes its home in Pasadena, Texas. Don Sparks, the coach of Vincennes, knows his team will be hard-pressed to upset the undefeated Ravens of Ronnie Arrow. The team in yellow uniforms is Vincennes. Number 23, Jeff Huffman, is deadly from 15 feet. The underdog Trailblazers go ahead 10-8. But San Jacinto is poised, patient, and productive. Michael Porter answers back with this jumper. Now it's time to get serious. So San Jacinto goes to its star, Liddell Eccles. Vincennes has no intention of quitting. Number 43, Ruben Tipton, hits a beauty, but at the half, Vincennes trails by 14. The second half finds San Jacinto looking to slam the door shut on Vincennes. Most valuable player, Liddell Eccles, will score 20 points to finish as the tournament's top point producer with a total of 105. A furious charge late in the game by Vincennes makes for an interesting finale, but San Jacinto is too big and too strong for the game, but overmatched Trailblazers. Reggie Kirk connects as Vincennes draws closer. Vincennes is forced to stay with a perimeter-based attack against the overpowering Ravens. The final score is San Jacinto 84, Vincennes 78. The Ravens of Ronnie Arrow have done it. They wind up 37-0 and stand tall as national junior college champions. March means tournament month in college basketball. It's a time when the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics holds its tournament in Kansas City's famed Kemper Arena. The Arkansas Monticello Boll Weevils are in the white uniforms. They're facing a tough opponent from Tennessee, the David Lipscomb Bisons. The Bisons were 30-4 during the regular season, despite having only one player over 6'6". Coach Don Meyer stresses the inside game. Tom Kelsey carries out the game plan. Outside shooting is important to the Boll Weevils. They depend on a guy named Larry Holmes for perimeter points. Again, the David Lipscomb Bisons work the ball until they find their chance inside. And again, Tom Kelsey scores. It's still very early, but Arkansas catches fire and begins to blister the nets from outside. Darren Reeves connects, and Arkansas is on top of the halfway mark, 27-22. The Bisons go to their big man in close, and 6'10" John Kimbrell does the rest. In the next 6 minutes, the Boll Weevils are held to 3 points. The Bisons are on top 44-40, but the Arkansas Monticello team maintains its composure and works the ball for a good shot. Darren Reeves has it. We're getting close to the end with David Lipscomb opening an 11-point advantage. Number 40 is Chris Martello. His 13-point effort is the same margin by which David Lipscomb will win the game. The Boll Weevils battle for every rebound as their outside shooting finally deserts them. The quick transition game of this team from Nashville, Tennessee takes over, and David Lipscomb goes on to win by 13. The final score of this NAIA championship is 67-54. Led by John Kimbrell's 22 points, David Lipscomb College of Nashville, Tennessee is the new NAIA champion for 1986. Basketball continues its tremendous appeal throughout the world, and just as the men's game increases in popularity every year, the women are also gaining headlines. On the West Coast, everyone is familiar with the girls' basketball program at USC. One girl in particular is the focal point of this great USC team. Cheryl Miller is considered by most experts as the best college player in the country. She's 6'3", an All-America, and perhaps the best women basketball player ever. While Cheryl Miller is doing her thing in college, Lynette Woodard is having a ball with her teammates, the Harlem Globetrotters. The first female ever to play for the Globetrotters, Lynette Woodard is fulfilling a lifelong dream. A graduate of Kansas University, Lynette travels all over the world with the Clown Kings of basketball, and she's winning millions of fans along the way. Now let's meet another basketball star. She's Tanya Crevier. At 5'3", Tanya doesn't try to compete with the big boys. But on the other hand, the big boys can't compete with Tanya. She's the world's finest female basketball handler. Tanya is one of 11 children, a native of Jefferson, South Dakota, where she graduated from South Dakota State University in 1977. This unique basketball talent has entertained at many NBA games, as well as making appearances on the Dinah Shore Show, the John Davidson Show, the 700 Club, the PTL Club, and others. A class person with a class act. Tanya Crevier shares the spotlight with Cheryl Miller and Lynette Woodard as our Converse Queens of the Court. Springfield, Massachusetts takes great pride in hosting the Division II championships. Both men and women play their championship games here at the Springfield Civic Center. The championship game for women is between North Dakota State in the green uniforms and top-ranked Cal Poly Pomona. The Bisons of North Dakota State came all the way from Fargo, North Dakota. Edie Boyer shows some good moves and determination in the early stages for the North Dakota State Bisons. But fast breaks and superior ball handling are characteristics that separate Cal Poly Pomona from other teams. The Broncos of Darlene May strike back quickly. The girls from North Dakota State fall behind by as many as 13 points, and it's a very quiet Bison bench. The Bisons eventually close the gap, but number 11, Deborah Larson, and number 35, Debbie Fleck, share scoring honors for Cal Poly Pomona as they each hit for 19. This powerhouse from Pomona, California, won the tournament a year ago, beating Central Missouri State. The Broncos are getting 2 shots for every one the Bisons take. Number 32, Vicki Mitchell, scores for Cal Poly. Vicki will reach double figures with 14 points. In order to get to the finals, North Dakota State defeated Philadelphia Textile, while Cal Poly Pomona knocked off always tough Delta State. The Bisons are still kicking up their heels as the game winds down to the final minutes. Inside or outside, it makes no difference to Debbie Fleck. She can score from any place on the court. Her 19 points, together with Deborah Larson's 19, are double trouble for the Bisons. Michelle McCoy chips in with 16 to give Cal Poly the kind of balance needed to lead the California girls to their second consecutive title. It's Cal Poly Pomona 70-63 over North Dakota State for the NC2A Division II championship. The men's championship features a terrific matchup as Southeast Missouri State comes to Springfield to battle with local favorite Sacred Heart. The Sacred Heart Pioneers are from Bridgeport, Connecticut, and would be the first New England school ever to win the Division II crown if they can knock off the Indians. Sacred Heart enters the game with a mighty 29-4 record, while the Missouri team did almost as well, coming into the championship game 27-6. It's Southeast Missouri in the white uniforms. Number 40, Riley Ellis, is the top scorer in the game, as well as being the biggest man on the court. Ellis is 6'8", 233 pounds. The battle of the boards rages on as Sacred Heart's Joe Jackson comes up with the deflection. And it's 2 points for Sacred Heart. The Pioneers go on to take a 50-41 halftime lead. It's the muscle of Southeast Missouri against the quickness of Sacred Heart in the second half. Here comes Sacred Heart on a fast break. Number 24, Roger Younger, is in for 2 of his 18 points. Another miss by the Southeast Missouri Indians results in 2 more points for Sacred Heart. There's no stopping the Pioneers now as they become the first New England school ever to win the NCAA Division II basketball championship. Sacred Heart takes home the trophy and the title by beating Southeast Missouri State 93-87. In 1986, 3 teams fought their way to the top as final candidates for our Cinderella Team of the Year. LSU, despite losing 3 pivot men and being forced into using a center who was only 6'5", managed to make it all the way to the Final 4 in the NCAA tournament. LSU eventually lost to national champion Louisville. Auburn was another of our final selections as Cinderella team. The Tigers clawed their way to the regional finals. They had a banner year with wins over Arizona, St. John's, and UNLV before losing to Louisville, the same team that knocked off LSU. Despite the success of the Southeastern Conference teams, our Converse Cinderella team comes out of the Young Colonial Athletic Association. Navy did more with less than any major team in the country. The midshipmen wound up the season 30-5 and 3 wins in the NCAA tournament. At the Naval Academy, the key figure to the good fortune of this successful basketball program is All-America David Robinson. If teammate and captain Vernon Butler could get the ball into the 6'11" pivot man, Robinson would do the rest. He took what the opposition gave him. Inside, outside, and rebounding at both ends of the floor, it made no difference. Robinson would not be denied. Only Mother Nature almost stopped Robinson. He barely made it into the academy because of a height restriction. And while he was there, David decided to grow another 5 inches. That made the difference, and Navy became a basketball power. And what made life even more beautiful around the academy, David Robinson, only a junior, made his decision to stay at Navy rather than go for the gold in the NBA. It's a Cinderella story that won't end until David Robinson graduates in 1987. And then it's anchors away for at least another 5 years in the Navy. The big story in ladies hoops comes out of Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky. USC with 4-time All-America Cheryl Miller will try to upset the #1 team in the nation, Texas. Texas, with a win here, will finish the season with a perfect slate of 34-0. The Lady Longhorns boast one of the best all-around teams ever in college basketball. A girl off the bench is as likely to be the game's high-point scorer as any of the starters. Beverly Williams gives Texas the early lead. Coach Jody Conrad has all 13 players contributing, and they do a great job. Cara Pretty, number 44, and Clarissa Davis will come off the bench to play key roles in this championship contest. Gay Hemphill fakes All-America Cheryl Miller and drives in for Texas points. Now it's Cheryl's turn. The USC star will wind up with 16 before the issue is decided. Texas knows what it has to do. The Longhorns double and triple team Cheryl Miller, forcing her into low percentage shots. The rebounds give Texas more chances to score off fast breaks. Texas star number 33, Kami Etheridge, helps her Longhorns break the game open in the second half. At the 7.5-minute mark of the second half, there's a key play by Yolanda Wimbish. She strips the ball from Cynthia Cooper. And when Cheryl Miller tries to regain the loose ball for USC, there's a foul called. It's against Miller, her fifth, and she's out of the game. There's no stopping Texas after that. All USC hopes are now history as the Texas Longhorns hang on to an impressive victory. It's a 97-81 decision over USC. Texas reserves score 58 points out of the 81, and that's just too much for USC to overcome. The ladies' crown in NCAA Division I basketball belongs to Texas University. The 1986 Division I men's title is on the line. Out of 64 teams, only one can finish the tournament with a W. Louisville and Duke are the only teams left to qualify for the Division I championship. To get to the final, Louisville knocked off tournament surprise LSU, while Duke was beating Kansas for the second time this season. Now it's the impressive Cardinals of Denny Crum challenging the class of the ACC, Duke, coached by clever Mike Krzyzewski. The first half is played on even terms, with neither team able to take a decisive advantage. A Duke turnover gives freshman center Purvis Ellison a chance to tie the game at 33. Duke's Johnny Dawkins counters for the Blue Devils. He scores 11 of Duke's first 15 points, and the Blue Devils will take a 37-34 lead into the locker room at halftime. The second half starts out well for Duke. The Blue Devils defense holds Louisville in check, while Johnny Dawkins does his thing from the corner. Duke trades Louisville basket for basket until the 3.5-minute mark. An alley-oop play to number 20, Milt Wagner, sends Louisville on top, 64-63. And here's a key play for the Cardinals. Billy Thompson, a senior from Camden, New Jersey, makes the right move with less than 30 seconds left to play. With the score, Louisville 68, Duke 65. Only 27 ticks remain on the scoreboard clock. Number 43, Purvis Ellison, finds himself in a make-or-break position for Louisville. The freshman center calmly sinks 2 foul shots, giving Louisville a 70-65 lead and little chance for Duke to pull this one out. Louisville goes ahead 72-69 on Milt Wagner's foul shots, and a last-gasp effort by Duke winds up in the hands of number 42, Jeff Hall. It's all over. Duke's dream of a national title will have to wait another year. This championship belongs to Louisville. The Cardinals of Denny Crum win their second national title in 6 years. And with 11 players returning next season, Louisville should be among the nation's best once again. A little older, a little out of shape, a little rusty, but just as competitive as ever. These are the greats of yesteryear. They came from every section of the country to be here. A big Dallas welcome for Walt Bellamy, Bob Cousy, Dave Cowens, Gail Goodrich, John Havlicek, Connie Hawkins, Bailey Howell, Pete Maravich, Zelmo Beatty, Jack Marin, the Big O, Oscar Robertson, Cassie Russell, and the rest of the NBA legends. The East looks like it's been practicing for this annual event. Pete Maravich finds Tom Sanders, and Tom finds 2 points for the East. Cassie Russell is slightly off target, but 46-year-old Zelmo Beatty shows why he was king of the rebounders during the 64-65 season. Zelmo gets his hand on the ball at the other end of the court as well. But Bob Cousy intercepts for the East. The 57-year-old color commentator for the Celtics still knows how to dish off to his teammates. John Havlicek pays the price, though, for 2 points for the East. At the half, it's a 27-27 ball game. The Boston Celtics of the past continue to grab the spotlight. Dave Cowens drops in a shot for the East. The West shows signs of life as Cassie Russell hooks it a pair. Cassie spent 12 seasons in the pros and played on the world champion New York Knicks in the 1969-70 season. The West will go on to win the game, but individual honors go to the pistol. Pete Maravich was one of the deadliest shooters ever to play in the NBA. This 37-year-old former star with Atlanta and New Orleans becomes the game's high scorer as he hits 3 in a row in the third quarter. Dave Cowens can't believe it. Everyone has a good time as this exhibition comes to an end for another year. It's a long time between games, but these legends will return again in 1987 to huff and puff one more time, relive their youth, and share fun moments with their basketball buddies. Something new has been added to spice up All-Star Weekend in the NBA. It's a long-distance shootout featuring the best three-point marksmen in the league. Kyle Macy of the Chicago Bulls is on target in the preliminary rounds. There's a 1-minute time limit, and the red, white, and blue ball is worth more points than the others. It's Trent Tucker's turn. This New York Knicks guard is one of the premier three-point shooters in the NBA. At one point in 1984, he sank 10 consecutive three-point attempts. He'll fall short in this contest, though, as Larry Bird warms up for his specialty. Larry Bird's soft touch can't be matched. He's so confident, he competes in his warm-up jacket during the first 2 rounds. Now it's time for the finals. It's Milwaukee's Craig Hodges against Larry Bird for the championship and a first prize of $10,000. Bird wins the coin toss and elects to have Hodges shoot first. Craig scores 11 points. Bird makes it look easy as he makes 11 of his first 12 and finishes with 18 of 25. His point total is 22 out of a possible 30. The crowd loves it as Larry pours in shot after shot. He's got the rhythm now. There's no doubt at all. Bird is just sensational. He easily wins the three-point shootout. A $10,000 check from American Airlines is first prize and gives the rest of the league something to shoot for in 1987. But today, it's Larry Bird, king of the long-distance bomber. Early in February, the NBA All-Star Game winds up one of the biggest and most fun-filled weekends on the pro basketball calendar. After watching the stars of yesteryear on Saturday, now all eyes focus on Sunday's great classic, featuring the current stars of the NBA. The East is coached by K.C. Jones, former Celtics star, and now the head coach of the Boston Celtics. For K.C., this is his 4th NBA All-Star Game. Pat Riley, coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, is in his 4th All-Star Game for the West. Pat, K.C. Jones, and Tom Heinsohn get together before the action begins at sold-out Reunion Arena in Dallas. Larry Bird and Julius Erving enjoy life as teammates for a change. Magic Johnson of the Lakers looks for the open man or one of the big boys underneath. Ralph Sampson slams home 2 for the West. Isaiah Thomas comes right back for the East. This is where Isaiah loves to show the fans his many talents. The Detroit Pistons star is in his 5th NBA All-Star Game. Julius Erving of the 76ers is playing in his 10th All-Star Classic. He goes the distance for the East. The doctor's operating now. Here's 2 more for the East. Magic Johnson wastes little time getting the ball over to Ralph Sampson, who cashes in for the West. It's run-and-gun basketball, and the Dallas fans love it. Here comes Isaiah Thomas again. This 6'1" superstar was the All-Star Game's MVP in 1984. The West still holds a slim 2-point lead as we approach the end of the first quarter. Rolando Blackman finds the range for the West, and it's 36-34 West. With the West leading 41-38 in the second quarter, the East comes roaring back. Number 21 is Dominique Wilkins. He slams home 2 more for the East. The fans love this type of game. Kareem is in a class by himself. But now the East puts together a second quarter spurt. Isaiah Thomas is beautiful. He makes his move and no one can stop him. Maybe there still is a place in basketball for the little man. When Thomas isn't scoring, he's setting up his teammates. Larry Bird displays the same technique he used to win the long-distance shootout contest. Here's a fast break by the East. Isaiah Thomas follows up a Bird miss, but hanging on the rim is a no-no in the NBA. The East, however, has so many offensive weapons, it's frightening. Larry Bird is the game's premier three-point man, and the East is on fire. Bird has it going now. He comes across the lane for a left-handed hook, and the East can't be stopped. It's a basketball fan's delight as Bird, the Doctor, and Isaiah continue their artistry. Bird finds Julius Erving open, and Erving responds with his slam. At intermission, the East takes a slim 3-point lead. The ball belongs to the East as we begin the second half. Just when it looks as if the Doctor's in trouble, Isaiah Thomas comes to the rescue. Thomas puts the East on top, 75-74. In the second half, Thomas takes control of the game. He drives, he penetrates, he jumps, and he scores. The West does all it can to stay close. Dominique Wilkins is as graceful as they come, and he electrifies the sellout crowd with some of the most spectacular moves this side of Dr. J. In the middle of the third quarter, it's East on top, 86-80. But the West keeps plugging away. And finally, Rolando Blackman, a Dallas favorite, pumps in a beauty from outside. The West goes ahead by 2. The West looks to do even more damage in the final quarter. But a key interception by Larry Bird gives the East another chance. The West turnover allows Isaiah Thomas to tie the game at 106 apiece. Later, Sidney Moncrief assists Isaiah Thomas to the basket. Isaiah will wind up this game with scoring honors. His 30 points will top Larry Bird by 7. For Larry Bird, who captured the three-point shootout one day earlier, this was another fun show. He finishes with 23 points, 8 rebounds, 7 steals, and 5 assists. But the most important statistic is the final score. The East beats the West 139-132 in another exciting all-star classic. After the game, the vote is unanimous. Isaiah Thomas, with 30 points, 10 assists, and 5 steals, captures his second most valuable player trophy in the last 3 years. He led the East from a 7-point deficit to a 7-point victory. A run of 8 consecutive points, 4 of them by Thomas, put the East on top with slightly more than a minute and a half left to play. Then there was no catching the East. Isaiah Thomas, who was All-Star MVP in 1984, does it again in 1986. And now has matching bookends for his trophy case and a great big hug from Mom. Now for Converse, this is Howard David, reminding you that this has been another Converse sports presentation. Converse, the official athletic shoe of the National Basketball Association.